Welcome back to On the Clock with Krysten Peek. I'm Krysten Peek, joined by Rivals.com national basketball analyst Rob Cassidy. Rob, who are some players flying under the radar projected maybe in the second round that you think will have long NBA careers? Can you name anyone that you think?
I'm really starting to like your boy Zach Edey as an NBA player. After the testing at the combine, I know that you're not a huge believer in his NBA future.
I'm coming around. Yes, go on.
I mean, he tested as well as Donovan did at UConn, and I still have my doubts because I watched him play a lot and it doesn't look as fluid as it should. And he's not, if this was 20 years ago, he would be a star though, right? If this was like 1995 NBA, can you imagine this guy? I think he's got a chance. He's a willing shooter. It looks ridiculous, but it's getting better outside of the paint, slowly. I don't think he's going to be a person you build a team around, but I think he can stick in the NBA for a while.
The thing that I like about Zach is when he did his media availability, he was very confident in saying, every team needs a player to anchor their defense. I was asked to play a certain role at Purdue with my back to the basket. I know I have the skill set to extend my game, and I am going to work to be productive in the NBA. So it's like he knows the criticism. And by the way, we talked about this on episode 1 with Kyle Boone from CBS and his 3-quarter court sprint, or whatever that is, the poor man's 40. And everyone said that he's the guy from Happy Gilmore, chasing down Shooter McGadden.
Construction worker?
Yes. I didn't know that was the NBA comp I needed in this draft. And I'm so much happier for it. But
how did he look shooting it? I wasn't there. I saw some clips of him shooting it, but I mean, how did it look?
So he kind of does this thing where he hatches, he's got a hit shot, right? So he brings it back and then kind of it looks like he just throws it, but it's going in from long range, and I don't know. But you look at Nikola Jokic's shot too, how he kind of has it high up here because nobody can get it and just kind of whoop. That's kind of what Zach Edey's shot looked like, but it was going in. And
that's the thing. When are we going to decide that high level production means something for the NBA? I sometimes I think we go a little bit too far in projections where sometimes, don't overthink it with him. I think he's got a chance. You can't really, all the knocks on him are hypotheticals, right? What can he do down the road? Nobody wants to talk about what he has done, which I think is important. And I think sometimes in our industry, we get a little carried away with that. It's obviously important, but I think it's kind of gone the other way where, sometimes you got to refocus and actually just watch the tape of what he did at Purdue.
Yeah. A couple other players I want to touch on. We touched on AJ Johnson a little bit. He was awesome at the combine, Rob. Awesome. Yes. He was by far the biggest riser. And Trenton Flowers, who also elected, he was originally committed to Louisville, decided late to decommit and go over and play for the Adelaide 36ers. I went over to Australia. I saw both AJ Johnson, who was formerly committed to Texas, decided to go play for the Illawarra Hawks, Trenton in Adelaide. But these guys were both high profile high school prospects that kind of disappeared. But do you think that, let's start with Trenton Flowers first, 6'8", wing, loves to play above the rim. Do you think he has, the potential to be productive in the NBA?
He is another one where everything is based on potential on him. The production has never really been super consistent. He's made some interesting decisions from a life standpoint.
Correct.
He's been at a million high schools. I don't necessarily knock anybody for that. But when you combine it with, he went to Louisville and went to one practice and then just pieced out of there. It's not like it was a late decommitment. He went to campus and he ran through a Kenny Payne practice and then was no, I'm out, which maybe was a good decision in retrospect. But I've never seen it from him other than, maybe, 10-minute stretches where it's oh, there it is. But he hasn't ever, and I haven't watched a lot of, Australian basketball, so maybe he's doing great over there. But when he was in high school, it was always okay, he was one of these guys where if he missed his first 2 shots, forget it, because here comes 1 for 17, and he was really hard. He really had a hard time rebounding from adversity. But I understand why people are high on him. It's all the physical traits. It's the fluidity and it's the length. And it's, when you see the 20-minute stretch of him completely taking over a game, your jaw could drop. I don't know how that works against the competition in the NBA, and he's going to really have to level out if he really wants to be a pro.
Here's what I'll say about when we talk about players with high upside and potential, and that's all you ever hear about a player. It's like, how long do you give a player to hit and figure it out before they just disappear in the G League? You know what I mean? So it's like, how long have we been talking about Trent Flowers' potential? And how long are we going to, like, how much grace do you give him before you're like, I don't know.
Well, you know these NBA GMs better than I do. What's an ideal place for him? Like, where can he go and have like a long leash and be allowed to kind of develop?
It would have to be an established team where they would be patient with him in the G League in that environment. And also, I think I look at Memphis and what they did with Gigi Jackson and kind of giving him the freedom to explore, just his athleticism and be free within an NBA system. That's another thing. Like, I don't know how Trenton is going to do within the spacing, but the potential is still there. So I'm not writing him off yet. But another player that is kind of like, we know who he is. He's an older guy. He's still deciding whether he's going to go back to school. I don't know if you know a lot about Alex Karaban, but he was the best shooter in the 3-point star drill. He made 14 in a row. Bronny James came in second. He made 12. And, talking to him during his media availability, he's like, I don't know what I'm going to do, because for him, it's like, I can go back to a championship caliber coach, staff, and team and get better and try to work my way into the first round. Or I think he's like a safe pick, in the beginning to mid second. But what do you know about Alex Karaban, and what did you like about what he did at UConn?
We've always liked him too. We've had him ranked relatively highly in high school. He played on a high-profile high school team, and I can't remember where it was. It was one of those basketball factory schools. That's all I know. I think he'd be well suited to go back, because I think it would solidify him as a first-round pick. He was great this year, especially when he needed to be. I don't know where UConn is without him. Given another year to develop, I think he could be one of the best players in college basketball if he comes back. Now, obviously, I'm a little biased because I'm a college basketball guy. I'd like to see another year. But I think the jump between year one and year two for him could be massive, because he started slow. He didn't really look comfortable out there until conference play in the Big East, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we'll find out this upcoming week, because that's the early entry deadline. Okay.
Hey, let me ask you this while I have you, not to derail this.
No.
Do you know much about DaRon Holmes from Dayton? Is he coming back, or is he staying in the draft?
I think he's still someone that's waiting to get feedback from the team. I don't think he shot the ball particularly well. He tested well, like in terms of his agility and his times, and he looks the part. And his numbers were great at Dayton, but I don't know. It's still out on him. The verdict is still out on him on whether or not he's
got a little
back.
brother that's got a chance to be special in 2026.
Oh,
so if he comes back, maybe Dayton. His name's Cameron Holmes. Maybe if he comes back, I wonder if the little brother doesn't go to Dayton. He's going to be better than DaRon, except he's like a guard.
Yeah. Well, I don't have the inside scoop on DaRon Holmes. So sorry,
I
Rob.
wondered. I just thought I'd ask. I don't get you a lot.